perhaps the most important thing to factor in to everything when it comes down to SmackDown, I think the one thing you need to ensure is that you're looking at the perspective from every angle. There is just constant talk about and constant conversation about one way or another whether or not Friday Night SmackDown or SmackDown on Fox, whatever they end up tagging it as, there's going to need to be an understanding of what the perception of the product is. Right now, there is a massive a massive problem that everyone is overlooking in regards to the WWE's deal with Fox to bring Fox to network television. It is imperative to remember that Fox is hoping for the WWE to bring in consistently 3 million viewers weekly, I believe. I'm not talking about the problem being their time slot. Fridays are always horrendous times for young viewers. It's one of the biggest problems that Severity has always faced with competition against intensity. So, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about its expected time, because it doesn't matter whether it's 8 to 10, 9 to 11, I don't fucking care. One way or another, that's not the problem. The problem that SmackDown and the WWE have with their deal with Fox is that nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. It is imperative to remember that no matter what advertising you do, no matter what you put forth or what you say or whatever the hell it may be, nobody cares about SmackDown. When you talk about the deal that the WWE struck with the Fox network, no one talks about the future of SmackDown. Nobody talks about what it will have in terms of impact on the overall product you receive. Nobody talks about what it's going to mean for SmackDown and its uploading time to the WWE Network, or what it's going to do for the WWE's relationship with the USA Network and Monday Night Raw, or what their roster has. The constant conversation when you bring up the WWE's deal with SmackDown is that it's this bad deal that Fox did far too little research in, to the point where you now see the WWE very close to dipping below 2 million viewers weekly on average, not just in one day or 1 week, but on average below 2 million viewers when they're expected to get to 3 million. That's the big problem. The problem that not only do people not care in terms of they talk about how bad it is instead of the future and how good it could turn out to be, not only is that there that built-in skepticism with your viewers just knowing how bad your product is, but AEW, a new company that hasn't even been around for a year and is at best the second biggest wrestling company in this country in terms of financials and in terms of attention and success. They've already launched a TV deal, and they've already set a boatload of things in motion. The second biggest company in the United States, AEW, is becoming more talked about, is becoming more discussed, is becoming more and more understood in terms of people see AEW and they know what AEW is. With what WWE has done with SmackDown, all that it's supposed to be a revolutionary deal for professional wrestling in the United States, not only getting primetime television, but instead of cable primetime, network primetime television. It's a big deal. The WWE struck a deal with Saudi Arabia, an entire country, to bring events to that country in order to help progress the evolution of Saudi Arabia. They struck a deal with network television and an entire country. That is innovative. That is revolutionary. That is a moment in wrestling history that nobody talks about and nobody cares about, because it's got its bad, and even if it has its good, there's more bad than good, which says something immediately. But the fact that the WWE is the biggest wrestling company in the world, it's been around for over 60 years, it's gone through financial breakdown and financial success, it's gone through, what's the term? I'm losing the word. One way, it's controversial. There you go. It's gone through controversial moment after controversial moment. It saw Guerrero die. It saw Benoit die. It saw Owen Hart die. It saw Brian Pillman die. It's seen all of this history, good, bad, and indifferent. And its biggest moments in company history and industry history have become second fiddle to a company that's been around for less than 10 months. That is what you're dealing with. It doesn't matter what age range you're gunning for. It doesn't matter what your time slot is. It doesn't matter what day of the week you'll be broadcasted on, nor does it matter what time frame your show will be broadcasted in. What matters is that nobody cares, and nobody's talking about it. Raw Reunion happened for 1 week. Do you think Raw Reunion ended up keeping viewers around? No. Massive drop-off. It was a temporary fix. And if you think the WWE can get away just barely, you can see them just barely getting away with rewriting an entire show 4 hours before the show is set to go live on national television. If you think they can just barely get away with that on the USA Network, how the fuck do you think Fox is going to allow that? USW already has something set in place where if you want an angle to go down, unless an injury or an unforeseen circumstance happens, it needs to be confirmed and set in place a month in advance. Alright? But the WWE does this shit down to the fucking time they go live. Do you think for a second the Fox Network is going to allow that? Not to mention, think about it this way. The Fox Network has all of the leverage in this deal. They're paying billions for 5 years to get the rights to Friday Night SmackDown, or whatever the Fox Network is going to call SmackDown. They've got the rights to that show for 5 years. Just think about what happens. Just think about the decision they're going to make when SmackDown doesn't perform at the level that it wants SmackDown to perform at. Just imagine. I mean, 3 million subscribers, 3 million viewers a week. That's what Fox Network is reportedly aiming for SmackDown to achieve. What do you think is going to happen when Fox Network gives 2 hours of weekly television to a show that consistently brings in bad reviews? Fox already has a history of canceling shows prematurely. Alright? They do not waste time. If a show doesn't do what a show is meant to do, it is canned. So SmackDown not only has to ensure that a long-term solution is put in place for the betterment of the product to ensure 3 million viewers a week, but they have to do that and constantly have that breathing on their neck for the next 5 years. What happens if Fox decides it's not cutting it? It's not doing what we need it to do. We wanted 3 million, we keep getting 1.4 million. That's less than half, right? You're done. We're going to give the slot to some other show, to something else. Something that can get us ratings that we want. What happens then? Because if that happens, it'll most likely happen within the first year of the deal. Alright, these creative problems that the WWE are facing right now, they're facing right now. Alright, and the deal kicks in to the day, almost 2 months exactly. Alright, so you've got 60 days and less to, fix something? What are you going to fix? What are you going to do? You've already lost the goodwill of your fan base. Temporary solutions aren't going to do anything. You had your chance years ago, and you didn't take it. Now you're facing the repercussions. So within the first year, that is where the big problem is going to be. If the WWE can't get consistent viewership in on their product, all those problems, all of that threat to get the show canned from its deal with Fox, that will all happen in the first year. Alright, because if the WWE doesn't do something long-term to fix it instead of these temporary fixes like the Raw reunion show, alright, if the WWE doesn't fix those products, they aren't going to last a year on Fox. Fox will not allow that. Fox, again, is quick to pull the trigger, and the WWE is barely edging out half of what they want for Fox. The network shift is not going to do a damn thing. I mean, what do you think it's going to change? Sure, people will watch the first show. Alright? AEW sold out their first weekly show in, 3 minutes or so? Why? Because it's a moment in history. AEW becomes the first wrestling promotion since WCW to get firm cable television prime time. Really. So obviously, AEW's show, A Moment in History, is going to be sold out. Obviously, SmackDown, the first SmackDown on Fox, is going to have viewership through the roof. But that may even be worse for the WWE, and I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, if the Fox network goes, oh, well, we got, 4 million viewers for this big moment. Alright, hell, let's keep it going. And then they see the ratings drop off like a fucking nosedive. That's even worse. Alright, at the end of the day, if the WWE cannot capitalize on their first show, which they most likely won't, because there's no reason to keep going back, and they can't do anything in, 2 months to fix that problem? What Fox is going to see is the first show doing, 4 million maybe? 5 million perhaps? And then the second show doing maybe 3 million, if lucky. And then the third show do 2.7. And then the fourth drop lower than that. And then eventually it'll drop back to where it was. Because the Fox network isn't going to change anything. You can promote the hell out of it, but nobody cares about the WWE. The WWE isn't professional wrestling. So you can't begin to book the WWE like professional wrestling. Because viewers that want to watch professional wrestling know what professional wrestling is. They are not about the sports entertainment garbage, alright? It's either wrestling or it's not wrestling. Promote yourselves in the way you're meant to promote yourselves. But the audience that you're looking to achieve, don't associate the WWE with what you want them to associate the WWE with. So that promotion tactic is not going to work. You're not going to bring in new viewers because you have nothing to keep those viewers around. There's no reason for them to come in for one, and there's no reason for them to stay afterwards. You're inviting them in for a cup of tea, then they're leaving. They're going on their way. You're never going to see each other again. That's the problem with SmackDown. It's that big issue. The fact that if Fox cans SmackDown is still locked into this deal for an extent of time, however long that is going to be, where they can't bring SmackDown to network television or to cable television again. They can't bring them back to the USA Network because the USA Network probably wouldn't want them anyway. They'd end up just shoveling SmackDown onto the WWE Network. That would be the problem. SmackDown has been completely and utterly butchered over the past number of months, and turning them to Fox is not going to do anything. They will not consistently get 3 million viewers because they're not good. The WWE sucks, and nobody wants to watch a shitty product. So the problem with SmackDown and the Fox deal that everyone overlooks when talking about anything regarding the topic of conversation is that nobody cares. It's not looked at as this innovative moment or this revolutionary moment in wrestling. It may be accepted as such, but it's not looked at as such. That's what it should be, alright? AEW showing up taking the wrestling scene by the balls and molding it into its own. Yeah, sure, that's a big moment. But if this was such a promising moment for WWE or for history, if this was such a landmark event that could not go wrong, it wouldn't be playing second fiddle to AEW. This is a moment in wrestling history. The first time in the history of the business that in the United States you get primetime network television. And you got an entire deal with an entire country to be a part of its evolution and its progression into a site that people want to go to, right? You're put into the center of attention on a landmark scale. You're focused on internationally. You're focused on globally. And in the United States, you have a position where you can reach everyone like that. They don't even need a television provider. All they need is a satellite hookup to one station, and it's yours. That is not what we look at the SmackDown deal as. That's not what we look at the Saudi Arabia deal as. We look at the Saudi Arabia deal as a really bad move and a horrible PR blunder every single time it's brought up. And we look at the SmackDown deal as just a disaster waiting to happen. Alright? The WWE will be fine with the Saudi Arabia profit. Right? As long as they keep getting money given to them by the Saudi Arabian government to put on a really bad show, they'll be fine. But this Fox deal is not going to turn out as well as everyone thinks. Alright? And I have a history with this kind of stuff. Alright? I've seen the ins and outs of this business for 10 years. I've seen its evolution. I've seen how it progresses. And when it comes down to things like ratings and things like viewership and things like buy rates or anything along those lines that you may want to talk about, I know it. I know what I'm talking about. And I've proven it time in and time again. This deal is not going to work out. And the biggest thing you can see, and the biggest reason you can take that, look at that, and notice it, is because we don't talk about how big and how revolutionary, how innovative this moment in history is for the business. It's such a bad problem that's the only thing we can talk about. And even if AEW bursts onto the scene with a goddamn head of flames, they shouldn't be the hottest topic of conversation when something as big as this is happening. But they are. And SmackDown isn't looked at as being a part of an innovative deal or a revolutionary moment in history. It's simply looked at as a disaster waiting to happen. That's the telltale sign. That's how you know it's not going to work. Because you can't see anything about it that will work out. You can't take any positive from it. All it can be is bad. The Fox network doesn't want to deal with bad. The second they see bad, you're gone. I think it was one year where their entire television block, they had 21 shows or something canceled? It's only a few years ago or something along those lines. You think they're going to waste time with SmackDown as a sporting network? You think they're going to waste time on a fake sport that everybody realizes is a fake sport and they won't go watch? No. They're going to can SmackDown at that moment. And when they do, SmackDown's screwed because they're still locked into that deal. So what? You put it on the WWE network? You just take SmackDown off air? Then what, tough guy? The SmackDown deal is a dead fish in the water that you're trying and begging and hoping will begin swimming, but that's not how the world works, and that fish is not gonna swim. SmackDown is no different. As a matter of fact, it's worse. You're probably just chucking a dead fish into the water hoping it'll swim, but it's 12 feet in front of a shark. Not only does that fish not gonna swim, but even if it miraculously did, it's still gonna get gobbled up by that motherfucker. No questions asked. So I don't know what everyone expects to happen with a SmackDown deal. It's gonna be a disaster. And when it comes down to Saudi Arabia, it's going to be even worse of a PR blunder, because then Fox Network is going to have on their shoulders, they're going to have, oh, well, you know what, you're holding this, you paid $2 billion for this show to underperform, and not only underperform, but be owned by a company that struck a deal with this country that everybody realizes is a bad move. What the fuck do you think that Fox is going to do? It won't just become a bad PR blunder for the WWE. It'll be a bad PR blunder for Fox. Do you think fucking Fox is going to deal with that shit? No. Fox, what? They have rights to NFL. The NFL. They have rights to the MLB. They have a whole Thursday night football deal. They were well associated with the UFC for a long time. Do you think the WWE has any chance of its own say in this? No. No, no, no. Fox deal is not going to... it's not going to work out because the Fox network is not going to deal with the WWE's bullshit. Alright. Most investors realize the WWE feeding them bullshit in, oh, our roster was injured and so on and so forth. This was the reason for the low ratings. Most investors realize that that's bullshit. You think the Fox network's going to fall for that bullshit after they spend $2 billion on your shit? No. Not going to happen. No questions asked. The WWE and SmackDown are dead in the water. WWE won't go out of business, alright? Not yet, at the very least. After their Saudi Arabia deal ends in 10 years, maybe then. Alright? Or maybe if they start spending more on contracts and everything else than they are making. But they damn sure are not going out of business anytime soon. So they'll just be stuck with the same bad business practices. That's your problem with SmackDown. That's what you're going to see. That's the issue you're facing. That's the overlooked problem.